Hey everyone, so in today's video I decided to go ahead and make a video explaining everything you need to know about the twin married blades Kanshou and Bakuya that all the variations of Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya use. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off, Kanshou and Bakuya are a pair of married twin swords that are C-rank as noble phantasms and were crafted by Gan Jiang of Wu during the spring and autumn period of China. The two blades themselves are a representation of both yin and yang. Unlike conventional swords driven by ambition or competition, Kanshou and Bakuya were forged without vanity or sense of purpose. They contain no fighting spirit to defeat others, nor a competitive spirit to beat other weapons, and they contain neither the desire to be famous nor the faith to accomplish great deeds. Their quality and ability as swords is high due to being made with the best materials and a human sacrifice, and they have shamanistic and ritual aspects as enchanted weapons. The quality of the grips is more important in the practical use of the swords than the ornamental value, and they are noted as being quite big and heavy. The blades are identical in shape, with the only minor difference being their color. Kanshou, the black yang sword, is covered in a hexagonal pattern, and Bakuya, the white yin sword, has less of the shine of a polished metal in it than it has the haze of a cloud. While the story of their creation has survived into the modern day, there is no mention of what kind of swords they actually were, and even their shape is a mystery. Despite the passage of time, the story of these swords has endured, though details about their actual form remain elusive. It is believed they were car swords, a common practice of that era. The only descriptions we have mentioned Kanshou's black tortoiseshell pattern and Bakuya's white wave pattern, leaving much to the imagination and adding to their mystique. Now the story behind the creation of blades goes as upon receiving orders from the King of Wu to forge an imperial sword of unparalleled quality. Jie with Macron N. Jiang struggled to find the inspiration needed for such a monumental endeavor. Amidst his frustration and desperation, Gan Jiang's wife, Mo Yi, recognized her husband's dilemma and understanding the necessity of sacrificing a human life to achieve divine craftsmanship. Mo Yi willingly offered her own life. With a heart full of love and determination, she hurled herself into the furnace, blending her essence with the essence of 5 mountains and the metal of 6 heroes. The crucial elements that were used in the crafting of the swords. Overcome with grief yet fueled by his wife's sacrifice, Gan Jiang forged the twin swords, Kanshou and Bakuya. He kept the yang sword, named Gan Jiang in honor of his own name, while presenting the yin sword, Mo Yi, to the king as per the royal commission. However, upon realizing the truth behind the sword's creation and the sacrifice made by Mo Yi, the king was consumed by fury. In his rage, he ordered the execution of Gan Jiang. It is said that the original versions of the swords that reached the realm of the gods due to human sacrifice have a rather strong affinity against monsters, allowing them to easily cut down creatures like the Gorgon form of Medusa and the extra-dimensional evil god summoned by Caster Giles in a single strike. The unique abilities of Kanshou and Bakuya extend beyond just their physical form. They possess the remarkable ability to attract one another, ensuring that even if circumstances lead to their separation or loss, they will find their way back to their rightful owner. It's as if they are bound by an unbreakable thread of fate, returning much like a boomerang when one is thrown while the other is held. Moreover, when both swords are wielded simultaneously, they unlock an even greater potential. The wielder experiences a significant boost in magic resistance and physical resilience, making them formidable against both mystical and physical threats. This dual-wielding state also elevates their status, enhancing their rank as both weapons and noble phantasms. At some point in his life, Emiya encounters the married twin blades during his lifetime and adds them to the many other numerous weapons recorded and stored in his Reality Marble Unlimited blade. Works. Archer additionally crafted spells of warding all over the sword's blades. Triple-linked crane wings is the only thing that Emiya himself created and is only unique to him and his other many counterparts such as Emiya Altar, Miyuva Shirou, UBW Shirou, Heaven's Feel Shirou, and so on. The technique is said to be a fatal attack used to get him through his numerous battles, relying on the married sword's attraction to one another, consecutive projections, and keeping the basic technique, symbolized by the chanted poem. The user projects 3 sets of Kanshou and Bakuya, executing an unavoidable combination through throwing and slashing maneuver. Each blade is lethal, and the multiple attacks are meant to prohibit escape or defense. The only ways to defeat it are with an omnidirectional defense, or by ignoring the damage to make a suicidal assault on the user. The chant for said technique goes as is spirit and technique. Flawless and firm our strength rips the mountains, our swords split the water, our names reach the imperial villa, the two of us cannot hold the heavens together. However, the move is varied for both Archer and Shirou. With Archer, he starts the move off by throwing the first pair of Kanshou and Bakuya at his opponent with the purpose of being deflected, while the second is prepared for close-range combat. While the enemy is off guard, he slashes with the second pair, and the thrown pair returns and hits the enemy from behind. Finally, the third pair is modified into overedge and he performs the final strike with them. Shirou, on the other hand, though, begins with a thrown pair aimed at the neck, coinciding with the first line of the chant, that is deflected by the enemy, and then closes in for close combat with a second pair. The thrown Bakuya returns from behind to attack the enemy, and he immediately strikes with the Kanshou in his hand. Directly afterward, the thrown Kanshou returns, and he uses the Bakuya in his hand to attack as well, coinciding with the second and third lines. Saber managed to block all 4 attacks, but the result left her defenses completely open. He then projects the final pair without any reinforcement to slash the enemy's open defense in a downward X motion, coinciding with the final 2 lines. It is essentially a methodical strategy at rendering the opponent defenseless. It should also be noted that when Archer does use the technique against Hercules in the Fate route, he does manage to successfully take one of his many lives away before taking another 5 more lives away from him through unknown means. Now, in accordance to the unofficial legend behind Gan Jiang and Mo Yi. It was Mo Yi that suggested that there was insufficient human chi in the furnace, so the couple cut their hair and nails and cast them into the furnace, while 300 children helped to blow air into the bellows. In another account, Mo Yi sacrificed herself to increase human chi by throwing herself into the furnace. The desired result was achieved after 3 years, and the 2 swords were named after the couple. Gan Jiang kept the male sword, Gan Jiang, for himself and presented the female sword, Moi, of the pair to the king. The king was already very displeased since he ordered the sword made in 3 months' time, but Gan Jiang did not come back in 3 years, when he discovered Gan Jiang had kept the male sword. He was angered and had Gan Jiang killed. Before his death, Gan Jiang had already predicted the king's reaction, so he left behind a message for Mo Yi and their unborn son telling them where he had hidden the Gan Jiang sword. Several months later, Mo Yi gave birth to Gan Jiang's son, Kai, and years later she told him his father's story. Kai was eager to avenge his father, and he sought the Gan Jiang sword. At the same time, the king dreamed of a youth who desired to kill him, and, in fear, he placed a bounty on the youth's head. Kai was indignant and, filled with anguish, he started crying on his way to enact his vengeance. An assassin found Kai, who told the assassin his story. The assassin then suggested that Kai surrender his head and sword, and the assassin himself will avenge Gan Jiang in Kai's place. He did as told and committed suicide. The assassin was moved and decided to help Kai fulfill his quest. The assassin severed Kai's head and brought it, along with the Gan Jiang sword, to the overjoyed king. The king was, however, uncomfortable with Kai's head staring at him, and the assassin asked the king to have Kai's head boiled. But Kai's head was still staring at the king even after 40 days without any sign of decomposition. Thus the assassin told the king that he needed to take a closer look and stare back in order for the head to decompose under the power of the king. The king bent over the cauldron and the assassin seized the opportunity to decapitate him, his head falling into the cauldron alongside Kai's. The assassin then cut off his own head, which also fell into the boiling water. The flesh on the heads was boiled away such that none of the guards could recognize which head belonged to whom. The guards and vassals decided, since all 3 should be honored as kings, with Kai and the assassin being so brave and loyal. The three heads were eventually buried together at Yichuan County, Runan, Henan, and the grave is called Tomb of Three Kings. If you guys are interested in the source, go check out Spring and Autumn Annals of Wu and Yu. Now for a last-minute mention. While not technically being holy swords, the twin blades are easily able to combat them due to the unique way that they were formed. Even against holy swords like Excalibur and other swords utilized by the other members of the Knights of the Round Table.